Which is better, the BLU Bold N1 or the BLU Vivo XL5? Well, in this video, we're going to find out. Hi everyone, this is Kevin here, coming at you with my comparison between the BLU Bold N1 and the BLU Vivo XL5. Now both of these phones are very new to the market. In fact, the Bold N1 just came out last week, and this device technically isn't called the BLU Bold N1. I was just calling that because the phone is created by BLU, but it is under the Bold sub-brand, which is a new brand of premium smartphones created by BLU. And the BLU Vivo XL5 is the successor to the BLU Vivo XL4 that I actually covered towards the end of last year. So it is really exciting that we do have a successor to that phone, which is this phone. Now I do understand that these phones do have a bit different of pricing, with the Bold N1 being more expensive, but I'm doing a series of videos on this channel comparing the Bold N1 to all of BLU's latest smartphones. So just understand that that's the reason why I'm creating this video. And also, for some people, you might want to actually cross-shop these two and see if it is worth paying the extra money for the Bold N1, or if you should just save your money and get the BLU Vivo XL5. Now for the pricing, the Bold N1 is currently being offered at a promo price of $199.99 on Bold's website, but once that goes away, the price will be $249.99. Now you can also buy this phone right now on Amazon for $249.99. And I will be leaving links in the video description to where you can see the most up-to-date pricing. Now the BLU Vivo XL5 is currently being offered for $109.99. However, the original price for the phone was $129.99. So the price of this device might go back up to that original $129.99 price tag, or it might stay at $109.99 for a while. So again, for this phone, you should also take a look at the link in the video description to see the most up-to-date pricing for it. Now both devices are GSM unlocked, which means they'll work with any GSM carrier in the US. So they're going to work with AT&T, T-Mobile, Metro by T-Mobile, and Cricket, as well as some of the smaller carriers like Mint Mobile and Straight Talk. So that's definitely a great thing, and you have a lot of flexibility and options with both of these devices. Now with the Bold N1, we're getting a 6.4-inch display coming in at 1080p with a 19.5 by 9 aspect ratio. The PPI of this display is 403, so that's very impressive. And with the BLU Vivo XL5, we're getting a slightly smaller display at 6.3 inches at 720p with a 274 PPI and a 19 by 9 aspect ratio. So you can see, holding these two phones up next to each other, the actual size of them is about the same, but we do have a little bit thicker of bezels, especially at the bottom there with that chin on the Vivo XL5. Now another major difference that I'm sure you've already noticed is that there is no notch at all with the Bold N1, whereas with the Vivo XL5 we do get a teardrop notch at the top. Now with this device we are getting a pop-up front-facing camera, so when you turn on the front-facing camera we get this pop-up here with the camera itself, and because of that we pretty much get a bezel-less design here with the Bold N1. Definitely a very appealing design of the device. And some of you might be concerned about the long-term reliability of that pop-up front-facing camera, but I personally am not too concerned about it. I think overall, it's going to be reliable over time, and I don't think that should be a reason for you to avoid getting this device, and I really do think it's a cool and unique feature. Now the pop-up camera with the Bold N1 is 13 megapixels, and with the BLU Vivo XL5, we also get a 13 megapixel front-facing camera. So the same megapixel count for the front-facing cameras on both phones. Now with the Bold N1, we get 128 gigabytes of internal storage with SD card expansion. And with the BLU Vivo XL5, we get half of that at 64 gigabytes. We also get SD card expansion with this phone. We get wireless charging with the Bold N1, which is a feature that I'm a big fan of. And there's no wireless charging with the BLU Vivo XL5. Now both devices do have fingerprint sensors, but with the Bold N1, the fingerprint sensor is actually built into the display on the device, so pretty cool to see that, especially with a budget smartphone. And with the BLU Vivo XL5, the fingerprint sensor is on the back, so a very nice and quick and reliable fingerprint sensor with the BLU Vivo XL5. In fact, I think that out of both of these fingerprint sensors, the BLU Vivo XL5 has the more reliable fingerprint sensor of the two, but it is really cool having a built-in fingerprint sensor in the display, and it does work very well though most of the time. I just think that it's a bit quicker with the fingerprint sensor on the BLU Vivo XL5. Let me know what you think about that, and if I'm wrong, then call me out on it. Now on both devices, we do have a dual camera setup. Now with the Bold N1, we have a 16 megapixel main camera and a 5 megapixel secondary camera. And with the BLU Vivo XL5, we have a dual 13 megapixel setup. Now with both devices, we get portrait mode, and that's the main purpose of the secondary camera. Now with the Bold N1, we get 4 gigabytes of RAM, and with the BLU Vivo XL5, we get 3 gigabytes of RAM. With the Bold N1, we get the MediaTek Helio P70 processor, which is actually a really awesome processor. And with the Vivo XL5, we get the Unisoc SC9863A processor, which is pretty decent, but nothing too exciting. Now I did do an Antutu benchmark test with both devices so that you can get an idea of how they compare. And you can see that with the Bold N1, we get a score of 145,545. And with the Vivo XL5, we get a score of 74396. Now you can see down below, it does say that this phone is the G8. And that's because the BLU Vivo XL5 shares all of the internals with the BLU G8. The main difference between this device and the G8 is the material on the back, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. I just wanted to point that out so that if you saw this, you're not confused at all. Now digging deeper into the benchmark results here, you can see that the biggest difference between these two phones definitely has to be the CPU. We're almost getting twice the CPU score on the Bold N1 compared to the BLU Vivo XL5. Video recording on both devices maxes out at 1080p at 30 frames per second. Definitely take a look at my full reviews of these two phones to get a better idea of the photo and video quality from the two devices. And I'm not sure at the time that I put out this video if my full review videos will be out yet, and if they're not out yet, then stay tuned for that. Now the Bold N1 features a 3,500 mAh internal battery, and we do get a slightly larger battery with the Vivo XL5 with a 4,000 mAh internal battery. So 500 mAh of extra battery capacity with the BLU Vivo XL5. Now both devices run Android 9 Pie, and it's pretty much a stock version of Android on both. The devices did come with a little bit of bloatware, but really hardly anything, and you can remove those pre-installed applications if you wish. Now BLU has stated that they plan on updating the Bold N1 to Android 10 as soon as they can. Now I'm not sure when that'll be. It could be in 2 months from now, it could be in 6 months from now, I have no idea. And I'm not aware of them mentioning at all about updating the Vivo XL5 to Android 10, so we'll have to see if that even happens, but I'd imagine it probably won't happen. But at least with the Bold N1, eventually you're going to get this updated to the next version of Android. But the good news is that Android 9 Pie is very well optimized and works nice and smoothly on both phones. Now that we've compared the specifications of these two devices, let's talk a bit more about the hardware. So I already talked quite a bit about the front here. We have a slightly larger display with the Bold N1 at 6.4 inches. We also get 1080p here with this device versus 720p with the BLU Vivo XL5. And I think you can probably tell through the video here that side by side, there's no doubt that we're getting much brighter and clearer colors with the Bold N1, in addition to that much better pixel density here. So in all categories, the display with the Bold N1 is better, and I'm especially a fan of not having any sort of notch or anything here on the top, and instead we get a very immersive experience with this budget smartphone. Now don't get me wrong though, with the BLU Vivo XL5, the display does look pretty decent. Even though it is 720p, it still does look nice and clear, and I definitely like it quite a bit. It's not like with this device, your first thought is going to be that the display looks bad, because it certainly doesn't. It does look good. Now taking a look at the left side of these two phones, they both feature a metal band running around the side, which I'm definitely a big fan of, a nice premium feature there. We get the slot for the microSD card and SIM card on both phones. Both phones also feature dual SIM compatibility, so for those of you that value that, then there you go. Then taking a look on the right side here, we have a similar configuration with the volume button and the power button. Then on the top with the Bold N1, we get a noise canceling microphone and we get the pop-up front-facing camera. And with the BLU Vivo XL5, all we have is the 3.5mm headphone jack. Now I'm personally a fan of having the 3.5mm headphone jack on the bottom versus the top, but it is what it is. Then taking a look at the bottom here, with the Bold N1, we have the 3.5mm headphone jack, we have the microphone, we have the USB-C port for charging and data transfer, and we have the speaker. And with the BLU Vivo XL5, we have the speaker, we have the micro USB port for charging and data transfer, and we have the microphone. So we do get micro USB with the Vivo XL5, certainly something I'm not a huge fan of because I really do like USB-C a lot, but it is one of the compromises that you have to make with this device being pretty much $100 cheaper than the Bold N1. Then we have some pretty big differences on the backside here. So we of course do have the dual camera setup on both phones, and we have the flash. And with the Vivo XL5, we have the fingerprint sensor on the back, but the materials here are very different. So we get kind of a piano black polished finish on the Bold N1, but with the BLU Vivo XL5, we get this kind of interesting and cool looking fake leather material in the back. It even has some nice stitching there on the sides. So that's pretty interesting and pretty cool, and I actually do like it. I think it looks pretty nice overall. So good job, BLU, with this material on the back of the Vivo XL5. One thing's for sure. The Vivo XL5 doesn't really pick up fingerprints, but the Bold N1 definitely does pick up fingerprints, and it's a fingerprint magnet. Let's now do a speed test comparison between these two devices, starting with pulling up the camera. So 1, 2, 3, go. And it looks like it was pretty close on both phones actually, almost a tie with pulling up the camera app. Let's now go to Google Chrome. 1, 2, 3, go. And definitely with Google Chrome, the Bold N1 was quicker at pulling it up. Now, by looking at these two phones side by side, you can definitely get a good idea of the display quality. And you can also see that with the Bold N1, the display is a lot brighter and clearer compared to the BLU Vivo XL5. Let's now go to yahoo.com. So 1, 2, 3, go. And the Bold N1 was a lot quicker at pulling up Yahoo. Let's now go to engadget.com. 1, 2, 3, go. And in this test, the Bold N1 was a lot quicker at pulling up Engadget. Let's now do a scrolling test to see how this website scrolls on both phones. So very smooth on the Bold N1, and smooth as well on the BLU Vivo XL5. Maybe a little bit more laggy in comparison, but really not too much different here. Both devices are very good for web browsing, so that's definitely a great thing because web browsing is very important. Let's now go to this article. 1, 2, 3, go. And the Bold N1 was a lot quicker at pulling up the article. Let's try a zoom test here. So nice, smooth, pinch to zoom. And we'll try it too with the BLU Vivo XL5. Pretty smooth too, maybe not quite as smooth, but still not bad. So I'm very happy with the web browsing experience on both phones, but there's no doubt that the Bold N1 is the quicker phone of the two. Everything is a lot smoother on that device. And that definitely has to be because of the MediaTek Helio P70 processor on this phone. I'm very interested in knowing your thoughts about these two devices. Do you think it's worth spending the extra money and getting the Bold N1 over the BLU Vivo XL5? And do features like an in-screen fingerprint sensor and a pop-up front-facing camera matter to you? Or would you rather go for a more traditional approach with a fingerprint sensor on the back and a teardrop notch design? Really interested to know your thoughts about that, but definitely take a look at the links in the video description to see the most up-to-date pricing for these two devices. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Really interested to know your thoughts in the comment section below. But this is Kevin here. Let me know if you have any suggestions about other videos you'd like me to make with these two phones. Let me know also if you have any recommendations on other phones you'd like to see me cover on the channel in the future. And I will see you in the next video.